Good Monday morning. Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is Jeremy, and I'm coming at you once again with Redtired Podcast. And today I'm joined by one of my best good buddies in the whole entire world. He stands 6 foot, God only knows, and he's average to look at. He's Big Bomber Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Jeremy.
I hate you so much right now.
You look fantastic today. Glad to be here.
You know, I can't edit that out because then it's just going to be dead silence. How am I going to work with that?
Glad to be here, Jeremy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. So how was your weekend?
Oh, man. It was great. I didn't do much of anything, really. I just kind of existed. I drank some beer. It's great. Played some video games. Yeah.
Consistency is important in life.
I decided to try to get on that Saturday rush for Lyft, driving, not working out, because I got to explain it to everybody.
Yeah, because it's so weird when you say lifting that nobody understands. Like, oh, you're going to the gym because you played that on me. You're like, yeah, I'll probably do some lifting on Saturday. I'm like, oh, good, you're going to the gym, and you're like, no,
ew, no,
I'm going to lift.
Yeah,
all the confusion then the confusion just ensues, and everybody is dumber for it. And so you had to literally explain to me, Lyft, like Uber, but the other thing.
Yeah. Oh no, it's happened more than once before, and I feel like after I explained it, it's that scene from the Adam Sandler movie, Billy Madison or something like that. What was that movie Adam Sandler did where he had to redo all the grades again?
Yeah, that was Billy Madison.
Yeah, and he just goes on he has to answer a question, but he doesn't know the answer, so he just makes up some random BS. And the guy's like, that literally made no sense whatsoever. You have literally wasted our time. We all are. Everybody in this room is dumber. May God have mercy on your soul. I feel like it's that whenever I explain it, because then everyone's like, why do you say it that way? Like, okay, well, I'll just stop talking.
I'm driving for money.
Yeah.
I'm like my own taxi.
I'm a taxi, but not a taxi.
So, question, did you know that in London, I believe it was London, I was just reading this morning in the news, London has taken away Uber's license.
Like their driver's license?
Like their license to operate in London.
Oh, they did it to the corporation, not to the individuals of the corporation.
Correct. Apparently, they don't like some of their practices that are taking place with how basically anybody can Uber. And so it's real easy for somebody to Uber under a false name or something along those lines. And I guess it's got something to do with crime prevention, although I certainly wouldn't look to London, of all places, to be the perfect example of a place that you can.
Yeah.
Like, we've taken guns away. Now we're taking away knives, and there's still crime. What do we do?
I'm helping. I think I heard somewhere. I think in one of my little fun facts on social media. I like the fun fact pages on social media. You know, they had said something about the taxi drivers, but what I kind of got from the gist was that the taxi drivers there were kind of like more higher quality. Like they knew a lot of facts about the city. They knew all the ins and outs of the city. Yes. You know what I'm saying? They were really smart. Where then Lyft comes along and it's me, like, hi. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that kind of practice.
There's a quality control that takes place within the government for you to actually get licensed to a degree. You have to pass all of these tests, and they're ridiculous tests. So these actual real life cabbies in European countries actually know their city almost by heart.
Yeah, which is what you want in a taxi driver, and again, I can't tell you how many times, because Saturday I've been doing Lyft, and Saturday though I was heading out farther out and stuff like that, heading parts of the city I didn't know, and I still was like, I don't know where I'm at. like there were still these times I didn't know where I was going, and so like I could see in situations like that where the taxi driver would be more of a bit of, the quality, the quality. They want to have that quality for their people. I guess I could see it. Taking it away completely. Don't know if I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe holding them to a better standard.
Well,
maybe.
I'm sure that Uber will be appealing that, but you make a valid point when it comes to understanding the roads and whatnot. But we live in a generation where Google Maps and Apple Maps can get you just about anywhere that you need to go. And so the requirements for being an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, basically all you have to do is have a clean driving record and not be a dummy, right?
Yeah. That's pretty much how it was for me on Lyft.
Because anybody can operate a smartphone.
Yeah. And I mean, that's completely honest. I mean, the smartphone pretty much makes up, but I think they're also kind of paying for the people, like the people being nice and, their discretion as well.
Well, there's a nice level of transparency that goes along with having the smartphone up. So, anecdotally, Jacob and I took we took an Uber at it was like 3:00 in the morning when we flew out to New England. Yeah, it was an early morning, but I was fine. I can run on like fumes when it comes to sleep, and so we got into the vehicle and the girl asked where we were going. She just punched it up on her smartphone, and we all knew right where we were going. There was no discussion or no argument about what's the quickest way, what's the easiest way. We just all said, okay, Google Maps is right, and we're going to use it. So transparency, it's a beautiful thing. Why? So yeah. I almost think that the idea that these guys in the UK espouse of having so much government control over the cab drivers and so much licensing and whatnot that goes into it and having to understand every little road is kind of a moot point. It's kind of a failed endeavor because Google and Apple have already done the work for you, and the maps is right there. And if you don't like Google or Apple or your information getting into them, well, then download Waze. There's plenty of ways to do it.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good point. I never actually thought about it that way.
That's what I'm here for, buddy.
Fun fact. Wow.
I like to make people think.
Wow. This guy. So if people on Google Maps, would that make them want to try and like buy like a car? Would that make them more willing because, we just got Google Maps. We know where to go now. It's a lot more easier to drive it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was in a big city, I wouldn't want a car because one, there's too many people, but two, I don't know where the heck I'm going.
Yeah.
And so would that kind of open up avenues for people to want to buy a car?
Theoretically, I think there's more to it when you look at the broad spectrum. So take, for example, New York City, where many people just simply don't own cars because it's not economically viable. To own a car in New York City, first of all, you have to recognize that there's very, very few parking garages and parking spaces. Second of all, if you want to own your own parking spot, you're going to pay for it. It's expensive just to own a parking spot. So the car payment is probably far lower than the cost of the parking spot. So most people, especially within like the New York City area, they just walk everywhere they go. Their entire existence is in that little teeny tiny bubble, that little echo chamber. And that's probably why the politics are the way that it is, because everybody within that echo chamber just nods and agrees and never has any discussions or any arguments like, oh yeah, Barack Obama was a great president. Yeah, he sure was.
I'm fine.
This is fine.
This is fine.
So buying a car to a degree, yes, I think if you look at it on a broad spectrum, most of America, it's very easily justified. In fact, if you ever have a European come over and visit America, a lot of times you'll have like I heard on another podcast one time where another individual had some guests from the EU, and they were like, oh, well, while we're here, we want to go see Texas. And they were in New York. And the guy's like, Texas is like 1,800 miles away from here. And they were like, what
What's that in kilometers?
Okay, what's that in kilometers? Well, can't we just take the bullet train? No, you don't understand. Like here in the United States, we have like this huge, just like this vast amount of land that is literally unoccupied. You can't just jump on a bullet train here and go to Texas. It's not that simple.
How I wish it was that simple, but I'll give it to the Europeans. They made traveling a little easier, but they don't have the land we do.
Well, yeah,
we're America.
They don't, because I think by the size comparison, you could literally take Texas and put it over Europe.
And yeah, I've seen that before. Most of it will take up Europe automatically.
Yeah, and Texas covers more land than most of Europe does, which is probably why the I don't know. I'm throwing stones here to see what's, I'm just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks at this point. But that this may be part of the reason that the Great Britain went from this world supreme superpower to all of a sudden meh.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're okay. Yeah, they gave up a lot of land there in World War II, didn't they?
Yes, when they're like, that was kind of their final acts, I guess. Before the full collapse of not collapse, but they gave up a bunch of land to the Americans for American support and military because America didn't want to get involved.
Right.
But they would be like, "Oh, we'll give you stuff. You just got to give us some bases and stuff." And they signed over some bases to them. It kind of just led to the collapse of I keep saying collapse, but it kind of just led to the shrinking of their empire.
Great Britain is certainly a shell of its former self.
Yeah,
put it that way. Yeah. It looks much the same, but it's very, very empty in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of their if you look at a map, I think you can probably go back as far as probably the 40s. Probably 30. The war started in 38, 39ish. So if you pull up one of those maps, compare it to right now, it's it's awfully small. It got small real quick.
Where'd all your property go? You guys used to have so much more.
Did y'all sell it? Did you flip it? No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we kind of lost a little bit of it trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I mean, if you look at history, the Redcoats were very, like, they were revered. They were some dangerous folks. They had figured war out. And then move a couple of them over to the colonies and give them a reason to fight for life. And, then all of a sudden, hey, these guys, they've got nothing to lose. Like, they're ready to fight. And all of a sudden, the idea of having an army standing and facing another army became ridiculous, because let's just apply guerrilla tactics rather than standing face to face, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, because really think about it, that's a pretty stupid way to fight in the first place, isn't it? Face to face, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, war had a lot more honor back in the day, but then there are those guys who are like, you know what? I don't like standing there. I'm not going to stand there. I'm going to stand over there in that bush. Warfare changed.
It seems like if you just, and we can apply this to almost anything in life. If you just think outside of the box and just go, maybe there's a better way. I mean, imagine the first guy that was just he's standing around scratching his head and he's going, I bet I could take out more redcoats if I was shooting from the trees rather than from the ground.
And there's that one guy that's right next to him. Now, Bubba, don't you do that now. That's dangerous.
That's dangerous thinking there, Bubba. Don't you do it.
Dangerous thinking there. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. They won't even know where I come from.
I got the camouflage.
Next thing you know, they're all rubbing dirt and mud on their face and hiding up in the trees, and you see like a scene out of The Predator. Eyes open up. There he is right there.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And he just closes his eyes again.
Well, those eyes are really white.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're covered with mud, I would imagine. But I mean, I'd probably be slant-eyed, closed like that, real tight in that kind of a scenario. But I mean, you think about it, warfare changed.
Oh man, it was flipped on its axis. It was a lot to take in because warfare changed. But it wasn't necessarily the warfare had changed because the standing in line still worked, but a new tactic was just applied to it. But it was just the fact that the British Empire had taken a really big hit, and then the French recognized the American power as a sovereign nation because, I mean, they just didn't like the British. They were like, oh, hey, he sneezed the wrong way, and so like they would get him, like they did not like him that much, so they came to the America's aid. So it just a lot of things had happened, and then all of a sudden America's free. France recognizes America as an ally. British have been defeated, and then a lot of these colonies are like, hey, wow, that happened over there, wow. And and then
well, and
what we got now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the French actually used to be one hell of a combatant, didn't they?
Oh yeah. I mean, they stood up to the British back at the British Heights, and they're 20 miles from them. So they fought several wars against Britain. They were. They still are. Still do a pretty good job for the most part. But
yeah, okay.
they're forever going to have the French surrendering joke.
Yeah,
it's funny too because I like to pride myself on history, and it's like, wow, they only really surrendered once, twice, and now they just have all these things like they just surrender all the time with everything.
Like, well, and that's true because I mean, but if you look at, well, again, let's look at the British. The British, they only gave up on one major conquest, and that was fighting the United States after the United States became established. And they, I guess they realized like, okay, we're just not going to win this war, so let's just let them have the damn land and just forget it. You know what? Take it. No more taxes. We're done. The king's tired of funding this war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could almost mark that very spot in history as the moment where Great Britain started falling off the map.
Yeah, they started having some issues, and it started just kind of,
and all because they gave up that one time.
I think we outsmarted them a couple of times. Like I don't think it was like a Vietnam kind of thing. I think it was kind of a culmination of the colonial military and guerrillas fighting hand in hand, and then we just kind of like we out strategized them, and then and then all of a sudden, boom, America's here to stay.
Yeah, well, because we become a nation that's kind of built on doing things a little bit differently. We don't really subscribe to the way that the rest of the world does business because, well, the rest of the world kind of sucks.
There was a saying that I love and I think is extremely true, and it was like kind of like the 1940 military doctrine, and it was from the Soviet Union back when there was a Soviet Union, Nazi Germany. Back when there was a Nazi Germany in America. Guess which one's only around now? America.
Yeah.
But anyway, it had like quotes about the American military, and it was like Soviet Union was like, they do not practice their own doctrines. They do not read regulations or practice standard tactics. And the Nazi one was the Americans practice chaos on a daily basis, and war is chaos, or something like that. And then the Americans like, well, if we don't know what we're doing, surely the enemy can't guess our next move.
And it's true. There's
definitely true.
There's a book I read yesterday called Rhinoceros Success, and the book itself, it's a little silly, but it actually bears a lot of truth in the metaphors that it espouses. And one of the metaphors that it pushes heavily is drawing a parallel to people who are successful. They are commonly referred to as rhinos or rhinoceroses, not the rhinos that we see in Congress, but an actual rhinoceros, right? So they're compared to an actual rhino in saying that a rhino, it wakes up, it has one purpose, and that's to charge down any kind of threats whatsoever. It gets up and it goes and it crushes everything that's in its path. And a rhino has super thick skin. It's like 2-inch thick skin. And so the rhino doesn't even have the time or the ability or the wherewithal to worry about, maybe pushing through some bramble or something like that, like some thorns might get on its skin or whatever. The rhino doesn't care. It sees its objective and it goes and it crushes whatever its objective is. And that's what successful people likewise also do. And that's what's so great about the United States is effectively our inception was we are rhinos. We saw an objective and we went and we stomped its guts out, literally stomped its guts out. And the redcoats didn't have a leg to stand on because there were so many of us that were so aggressive and so proud of our new nation. And we weren't going to let King George push us around anywhere. And so it espoused that that mentality that the rhino has. And so food for thought here, anybody who's got goals, anybody who's got dreams, ambitions, whatever, you need to chase after those dreams, those goals, and those ambitions with rhinoceros success.
Yeah.
Go and stomp the guts out of your goals, make it happen, and then look at the next thing and keep moving forward. Because, I mean, think about this. Does a rhinoceros sleep in 10, 12 hours a day?
No.
Does a rhinoceros have excuse after excuse of why it can't chase down and stomp the guts out of its goal?
No.
No, it gets up, it wakes up, and it's all about survival.
Yeah, brother.
So, yeah, it was a great book. Really short read. Didn't take no time at all to read, but it's it kind of, it was a motivating thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very
motivating.
motivating.
Got you moving.
Want to get you moving. You want to get things accomplished. You want to crush your goals. You want to crush all of your ambitions and just get out there and make things happen. Because the parallel here in this book is, if you're not a rhinoceros, you're a cow. What does a cow do?
Eats and stands around.
Stand around chewing grass all day long, serving no real purpose until it's slaughtered and when we eat it, or delivering milk.
I mean, that's pretty safe assumption. Yeah.
So whatever you want to be, man, you can be anything you want to be, but we live in a world full of lazy cows. And I think it's time for more of us to kind of embrace more of a rhinoceros success attitude.
Well, of course. I mean, that's always, sorry, I meant to add more on that, but I had a burp coming. I mean, of course, we need to have a rhinoceros attitude, but, whenever lately I've been like, man, that'd be cool to have a business. And what would that business be? And I was like, I don't know. But my first thought in that is something that someone else is too lazy to do.
That's it. You're not competing against anybody but yourself.
I mean, I just got to think of that thing that someone's like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm going to pay this guy $20 to do it.
And that's part of the reason why I dabble in real estate so much, is because I'm all about it. It's a relatively hands-off endeavor, but most people are too afraid to do it. And so that lowers the entry level for the competition. There's not nearly as many people trying to get in on the job or trying to get in on homes, or because they're afraid. Their risk is what oh my God, I might have a water heater go out. Okay. And
so
then just have some money saved up. I don't think that you're going to let a water heater stop you from collecting a rent check and letting somebody else purchase a home for you, are you? I wouldn't. That's crazy.
That's crazy thinking.
Yeah. Oh, well, what if the air conditioning goes out in the summertime? Then what? Then you pay to have it fixed.
That person's not going to have air conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. They might be without air conditioning for a day or two. But
they'll get over it.
they will get over it. They'll survive. And by God, if you are really serious about driving towards your goals and your ambitions, well, then you'd have some money saved up for rainy days in the first place. And air conditioning going out, man, that's a rainy day for sure. It can be.
That's a rainy day.
But I'm not going to let it get in my way of making money for me. So that's why I'm so big into real estate. And you can make anything anything that you're passionate about. That's all. Really, that's it. If you have a passion for something, you're gonna drive hard towards it.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
Bill, what are you passionate about?
Getting a girlfriend.
I don't know if you're passionate about that.
Boy.
Okay.
Pretty good. Pretty passionate about my schooling, so I put a pretty good amount of effort into that.
Yeah.
The student associations and homework, getting it in on time. I always try to plan for the just in case with that and stuff like that.
Well, I'd also say you're very passionate about your career path, because you wouldn't be going to school for what you're going to school for if you weren't so interested in the career path that you've chosen.
That's a pretty safe assumption. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah.
I mean, you've got, so based on my estimation, I'm going to break down Bill, everybody. So, hey, hang on to your hats. This could be exciting.
Hi, I'm Bill.
Bill has been in the federal government for a good chunk of his life, for a good chunk of his adult life, served in Afghanistan. He, United States Army infantry. So he's got the heart of a servant. And where do those skills most easily translate to in the civilian sector? Well, the police force. So, Bill, you started off your life's journey within the United States Army in the infantry, trying to make a difference in the United States, right? Community.
Yes.
So those skills easily translate over into police work, because you're still trying to make a difference in your community. It's just that you're more of a centralized community, so the focus is stronger. Whereas you might not be deployed to Afghanistan as a police officer. In fact, I'm almost certain you won't. But the heart of a servant still exists within the desire to be a police officer, and so you've sought after that because you're passionate about serving other people.
Mm-hmm.
How's my assessment?
It's pretty fair assessment. Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah. Okay.
So, see, people aren't that difficult to read. And you're actually a very animated character as it is, so it's pretty fun to read people like you.
Shucks.
So
make me blush.
Yeah, I made him blush. I'm sorry. So that's one thing that you're passionate about. You're also, a firearms enthusiast, so there's a lot of passion that goes into that.
Oh, I make dumb decisions when it comes to buying firearms. Oh, good gosh.
Well, economic viability is one thing, but we're talking about the firearms side of things. You're an enthusiast when it comes to certain firearms that are obviously very appealing to you. So there's also a possibility for that kind of an endeavor. As you move along in your career later on, you could potentially open a firearms store or another business that somehow deals with the repair of firearms or gun ranges or those types of things.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's the morning. I'm sorry. I'm still yawning. My bad. I'm so sorry. Like I said, there's always going to be that person who's too lazy to clean their rifle. Like my little brother, he's too lazy to clean his rifle. So I could be like, yo, give me $20, I'll clean that gun. Doesn't really bother me.
And there are actual rifle cleaning services. That's a thing. So it might be food for thought.
That means it's a good idea. When I do that, that's a good idea.
Oh, okay. So those little clicks and pops don't translate well over to emotional understanding. So I'm like, what's going on here?
Got it.
Good game. So, Bill.
Yes.
Did I tell you that the Washington Post has decided that Barack Obama is now a conservative?
I'm glad to see that the Washington Post, the leading authority of who's a liberal and who's a conservative and who decides these things, is making a good, solid, trustworthy, not lying, total BS decision about a former president. I'm glad to see that the system works.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that when Trump called the media out as fake news in 2016, he wasn't planting seeds for the news to become fake. I think he just revealed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. When he said it, I was like, that's the kind of was one of the things that started me like, hey, wow, he's not bad. Because he was just like, I mean, the news is the news. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed for a while is they just kind of make a big deal of a lot of things, just get numbered, and it's just kind of like even the conservative side of the conservative side news is they make these big deals on everything, and it's just like, can't you just tell me what's going on? Like if someone like if the president farted the wrong way, they'd make like an hour spiel out of it with red alerts everywhere, and I'd be like, oh, so he farted. Okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna go now. Okay, apparently natural disaster, averted. We're good. But yeah, when he came out, he was just like, man, that's just like fake news, and just started calling people out. I was like, this guy funny. Funny guy. Look at this guy. He's funny. It kind of hit the nail on the head. I thought. I really liked it.
I think the days of Walter Cronkite, not telling you what to think, but telling you what happened are long gone.
Yeah, that's all I want. That's all I want. I want them to be like, this wall is green. Have a nice night. Like, I don't want them to be like, it's green, the color of communism and greedy capitalism because of money. And it is blood soaked in all the oil from future far off wars. And it's just like, it's green. I like green. What?
Yeah.
Like,
it's not that complicated.
I don't know. I just like, come on. It kind of like back to that podcast we did about the politicians making things too complicated when they word it. Mm-hmm. They're saying all this other stuff that sounds bad, but actually, I mean, again, he just farted. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they'll word it in such a way where it's like, wow, he just gassed half the country. Like, okay, dude. Again, like I said, he just farted. It's just wordplay, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, it would be nice if more of the mainstream media did kind of like what newspapers do when they write opinion pieces. They label it as such. It's an op-ed or it's an opinion editorial or opinion piece or something like that.
Oh, wow.
If for only a minute, the mainstream media, and we're talking about the talking heads on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox,
bigwigs,
all those dorks on TV, if
Nerds.
They would just step back and say, okay, here's what happened. Now I'm going to give my opinion, preface it a little bit. Because like you said, yeah, the wall happens to be green. So what? There's nothing you can break down behind. Now, and likewise, the same thing could be done. If you look behind me, I've got an American flag, red, white, and blue, some camo. Some people could come out and just look at all this stuff and say, oh, clearly he's a nationalist. Sure, I guess. I don't really see a problem with loving my country. If you want to label me with something, then that's fine. But why are we demonizing simplistic ideals? Like, oh, well, he's got a flag behind him. He must be a nationalist. Like, I love my country.
And then me, like, I don't have a flag behind me, so I'm obviously against America.
Yeah,
because that's the only obvious, response to have.
Yeah, your wall is green, therefore you're a communist.
Communism.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like it would just save everybody's time, because I remember when Trump came in president, CNN, with all their excellent opinions and all their trustworthiness, they were like, we're gonna impeach Trump, we're gonna impeach Trump, we're gonna impeach Trump, and then you have people that are like, okay, well, what's the premise? What's going on? Why? What's going on here? What's the evidence? I said we're gonna impeach him.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, okay, you're wasting my time. Impeachment, or we got him. Like, no, you didn't. You just keep repeating impeachment. Impeachment.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the actual reason to impeach him. And
exactly.
I've looked and I've looked and I've looked and I've scrolled through Facebook feeds to see if anybody has any viable information on it. I'm like, look, if he did something wrong, then sure, let's impeach him. But we got to have some kind of reason to even push for the impeachment narrative in the first place. There has to be some kind of concrete evidence. There's got to be something. You don't take somebody to court because you just don't like them. It's not that simple, right? And so
you can't do that. Oh man, I thought our political system. Man, I was thinking the whole wrong thing about the political system.
I know it sucks, doesn't it? But no, you can't do that. So I've scrolled through and I've had the discussions with other people, and I try to keep it rational, of course, but there's always somebody, their answer, you'll ask them a question. Okay, so what exactly did Trump do that warrants impeachment? And the answer is, well, if you don't know, then how am I supposed to show you? Well, I know you could point me to an article or some kind of evidence.
Cite some stuff. I don't know.
Well, did you read the transcript? Yeah, there was nothing in there. Oh, well, then you just don't want to see it.
Yeah, and then it's back to that argument of, well, then you're racist. No, I'm not. First off, I can't go to, I can't be like blaming people for stuff. I can't. You have to have something here, and it goes back to the crying wolf thing from our politicians and stuff like that. People making a big deal of it when we talk about the hearing. People crying wolf, and fake news is the whole news thing is kind of the same way. You'll have the news making a big deal again about President farting in the house, and people are going to be like, oh, he just farted in the house. Well, then all of a sudden the White House blew up and they're like, he just farted again. Like, they're making a big deal out of nothing, and then people are going to be like, oh, wait, that's actually serious. Wow. I think it's a whole nother crying wolf thing. And that's one of the big issues with fake news. But I mean,
yeah,
it's at this point, it's just kind of been like, they're just expressing themselves. Like they're just talking.
Well, the 24-hour news cycle is part of the reason that everybody's so depressed as it is. This was a huge mistake. It should have never happened, but it did because it was economically a viable opportunity. And Ted Turner was the one that discovered this, was the 24-hour news cycle. He began the CNN News Network. And this was probably long before the bias and all that stuff started sinking in, but he just had news playing 24 hours a day on this one network because, the guy's got money. He can afford to do it. Well, of course, that starts drawing attention because people can watch the news anytime they want to.
Yeah.
The numbers go up, right? So the viewership goes up. All these other media companies start seeing this and they're like, hey, they're making a lot of money doing this. Maybe we should do the same. And now we've got all these different news networks and they're constantly just throwing stuff out, and it's just trying to get stuff to stick to the wall.
Yeah.
And that's a large part of the reason why politicians, specifically presidents, are so hated. And I mean, they're martyrs at this point. They're being whatever it is. Barack Obama I'm not a Barack Obama fan. But that guy was raked over the coals by Fox News. And they drug him down and beat him every chance that they got. But likewise, CNN and MSNBC did the same thing to George W. Bush. It was the name calling even back then. This isn't a new tactic.
So yeah.
It just now has become a 24-hour news cycle where nobody takes the time to turn it off and say, I don't know, read a book about history or something that actually might improve brain power, and instead they focus all their energy onto this negative crap,
on the hate and stuff,
all the hate, all the protesting, all the just mess that such a minority of America is actually focused on. And before you know it, they're down in the dumps because they see their country going to hell in a handbasket. And the reality is it's not. Our country is not going to hell in a handbasket. It's not. There's just a couple of extremists who are, well, extreme.
It's a good way to put it. Extreme. Yeah. I mean, pretty much hit the nail on the head right there with that. I mean, there's probably a bunch more better things we could be doing than watching 24-hour news because, the negativity sells. So.
Yeah, it does. And advertisers love eyeballs. So that's where all that money is being made. So if you think about that for a second, all the advertising that takes place, if we, for whatever reason, I don't know if advertising some products should even be advertised really, but I mean, because you could go down a whole nother moral dilemma, ethical issue, where advertisers, you could say anything you want about advertising and big companies and all this other stuff, and you can demonize really anybody in this country that you want. But at the end of the day, advertisers make the world go round. The news is only viable because you watch it. If people,
it's a means to an end for advertising.
That's it. If you look at YouTube today, if you watch anything political on YouTube whatsoever, the next thing you know, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, that's what's going to start popping up in your suggested videos. I don't want to watch mainstream media. That's why I'm watching something on YouTube. Hello, YouTube, you retard.
That's why I'm watching kitten videos and dog videos, because they're cute and not negative.
That's right. Everybody loves kittens and doggies.
Aw.
So, we went off on a tangent there.
That was probably a lot more in depth we wanted to get with that part, but I was gonna say, please continue, Mr. Barry.
So I'm gonna break this down real quick here on the Barack Obama is now a conservative claim from the Washington Post, and of course, as always, the link will be in the article in the description below. You're welcome, Mike. Stop yelling at me. So let me just read this. Okay, so the Democrats, they want to be president. The Democrats who want to be president can't quite figure out how to talk about the most popular figure in their party. Former President Barack Obama casts a long shadow over the 2020 primary campaign. Preserving Obama's legacy is the heart of the former Vice President Joe Biden's pitch to voters, which has allowed his rivals to mark him as complacent. More left-leaning candidates, such as Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, say that the next president needs to do more to push for healthcare reforms and combat income inequality. But lately, she's been struggling to sell her proposals. One-time Obama cabinet secretary Julian Castro has ripped his former boss's record on immigration and deportation. Meanwhile, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, I say Buttigieg because it sounds funnier, Buttigieg raced to have a reporter correct a story that misquoted him, citing, quote, failures of the Obama era. Senator Kamala Harris of California said on Wednesday's debate that it's crucial to rebuild the Obama coalition because that's the last time we won. Picking and choosing which parts of the Obama tenure to embrace and how to firmly embrace them has become a delicate game in the primary season. And now Obama himself is working to cool down what he sees as an overheated political climate. In October, at a panel discussion for his foundation, he warned against the pitfalls of the woke cancel culture, telling a gathering of young activists that if all you're doing is casting stones, you're probably not going to get that far. This month, at a gathering of influential Democrats, he cautioned the 2020 contenders against pushing too far, too fast on policy. This is still a country that is less revolutionary than it is interested in improvements. So far, I actually agree with everything Barack Obama just said in that statement. He's absolutely right. This cancel culture thing, like people are getting way too upset about silly things.
Now, tell me what you told, what the cancel culture is, just canceling your subscription to that person.
So in a nutshell, yes, if somebody is deemed quote unquote too offensive for somebody, then everybody kind of teams up together and all makes a movement to try to have said comedian canceled from certain platforms via, say, the Twitterati, for example, right? So we've got this Twitter culture where everybody says Dave Chappelle made a very offensive joke and I don't like it, so therefore everybody band behind me, and we're going to go ahead and approach to Netflix and say, hey, Dave Chappelle's special is insensitive and it's hurtful and it should be removed from your platform. That's cancel culture. So the days of where we used to just say, well, I don't like this, and just turn the TV, change the channel, or just turn the damn TV off altogether, those days are gone. Nope, we have to have it removed because it doesn't fit my standard of ethics.
Yeah.
That's canceled.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because a lot of my YouTube channels that I watch, they say stuff all the time. They say stupid stuff all the time about my opinions, and so of course I'm like, well, that's I think it's a good thing, but they think that particular thing in question is a bad thing. I'm not going to cancel my subscription to that. No, they still make good content. They, as long as they're not, my whole thought process, don't tell me how to live my life, we're cool.
Exactly. The Hollywood mentality, right? So you take these woke leftists that are out there in Hollywood, and these are the guys that are in the entertainment industry. Your job is to make me laugh, make me cry, make me entertained. You need to remember that that's your primary role. Your job is not to tell me how to vote. It's not to tell me who to vote for. It's not to tell me my position on abortion issues, gun rights. It's not your job to tell me what to think. It's your job to entertain me. You're an actor. You act. That's it. So get off of your pedestal.
Yep.
So let's move forward, all right? Back to the article. So the remark that it was, okay, so this is still a country that is less revolutionary, that is interested in improvement. That remark helps explain why so many of the candidates' proposals seem so far to the left of Obama. The former president was skeptical of sweeping changes, bullish on markets, sanguine about the use of military force, high on individual responsibility, and faithful to a set of old school personal values. Compare that with the proposals from this would-be successor's Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, free college, a wealth tax, and a universal basic income.
A wealth tax?
Yes, that's one of the things that the left is pushing for now, is a wealth tax. Are you familiar with this?
I'm going to take a stab in the dark that it is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, okay, so in a nutshell, the wealth tax is a tax that they basically say, oh, well, here's what you're worth, therefore you need to pay X. Okay, so the most popular example that I've used so far is the Jeff Bezos example. And you know what? If we need to go over a little bit, we're going to do it because this needs to get out. All right, so here's the Jeff Bezos example. Basically, Jeff Bezos is worth, gosh, what is it, like $90 billion today? I don't even know the exact number right off the top of my head. Even after the divorce, he's still worth billions and billions of dollars.
More than me.
more than a lot of people combined. So the guy's got a lot of net worth. Now, net worth does not mean actual money on hand. Okay?
Yeah.
This is important. Bezos takes a salary from Amazon of approximately $78,000 per year. That's his salary. So his income tax is effectively capped right below that $78,000 mark, right?
Okay.
So he doesn't pay a lot in personal income tax. Good, bad, indifferent. Everybody's got their own opinion. I'm like, yeah, leave the man's wallet alone. That's my perspective. Okay. However, he also owns billions in dollars worth of stock in Amazon, obviously, because he's the owner and creator of Amazon. So he owns much stock, like tons of stock, right? So by that admission, looking at all of the stock that he owns, then you have to say, okay, well, that's why he's worth X billion dollars, is because he owns, say, 60 or 70 billion dollars worth of Amazon stock. Okay. So he lives fairly modest considering how much money he actually makes. But the Elizabeth Warren plan, where we tax billionaires based on how much money they have in net worth rather than actual assets, actual money that he survives on, he would have to sell some of that Amazon stock to be able to pay the taxes for the net worth. Okay. Because he doesn't have the cash on hand. This is not something where he can just go, oh, I just write you a check. No, because his net worth is all tied up in Amazon, the company, and Amazon, the stock.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order for him to pay a wealth tax, he would have to sell off a bunch of stock. Now, what happens when you in the stock market place a bunch of sell orders?
It affects the entire thing, doesn't it?
It affects the cost of the stock because it becomes a supply and demand issue, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all of a sudden there's 100,000 Amazon stock on sale. Everybody's gonna like, oh gosh, the market's gonna cause a panic. It's gonna cause the price of the stock to go down, and that will effectively lower not only Jeff Bezos' own net worth, but it will also effectively lower the entire market because Amazon is such a huge company. It would cause the S&P to go down. Now, why that is so dangerous is because so many people have their retirement accounts tied into the market, right? So if you effectively put into place a wealth tax, you will start draining people's retirement accounts.
Ooh, never looked at it that way.
So why would we want to drain people's retirement accounts? Well, one, there's only two logical explanations. One of them is you want people completely dependent on the government for all of their needs, all their sustenance, everything. And so you can implement more of a socialist regime.
Yep.
Or two, you're completely ignorant to the way that money actually works. Now, Elizabeth Warren herself used to be a Republican. So I'm guessing, and she's worth quite a bit of money. So I'm guessing she's not completely ignorant to the way that money works. So then one must ask themselves, why in the world would she want to implement a wealth tax knowing what it would do to the economy?
Wow.
Boom. And so now you understand the left has gone so far to the left that it leaves people like me who are independent going, this doesn't make sense. I can't get behind this. I can't back this up. This doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make sense, guys. Am I retarded or is this just me? Yeah, no, that's just from I you know me, I typically don't keep track of that kind of stuff like that, but just
yeah, it's easier to let me do it.
Yeah, just from you explaining that, seems like a lot of people are just trying to get money, and that's the whole throwing money at an issue kind of thing to fix it, which doesn't work.
So you kind of understand now why this whole election cycle is so crazy as it is, because the Democrats have gone so far to the left that even moderates are like moderate Democrats are going like, wait, this doesn't what no, what are you guys doing? The only people who are still subscribed to this ridiculous ideology are people who are so set in their ways. In fact, I know a few people who are diehard Democrat and they hate Trump because the talking box tells them to. But they're so diehard Democrat that they only want to vote for a Democrat. They don't care about the current situation of the Democratic Party values because they still see the old school Democratic Party values.
Yeah.
Think JFK, right? JFK was probably pretty amazing Democrat.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Right.
Russians loved him.
Oh, yeah.
World War II,
he did
Roosevelt.
such a good job. Somebody took him out. Right?
We like you so much, we're gonna shoot you.
So the party of JFK is long gone. This whole thing, it's dead.
It's gone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
There's no Democrat party like the JFK days. That guy those guys are long gone and dead. But the old school people, the people who were raised in that era where they grew up and they saw the good that Democrats used to do are still die hard holding on to the party. They still believe that the Democrats are actually for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes them to blindly align themselves with the mainstream media, watching CNN and MSNBC and all of those other morons. And their talking box keeps giving them this information that isn't 100% accurate and is largely based on emotions.
Yeah, no, yeah. I completely understand that. Yeah. I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, you got the nail on the head right there. I mean, that's not the same.
It's scary because that's what the majority of the media is doing, is they're telling you what to think. And most of them are left wing. They're left leaning. It just is. How many right wing, and again, bear in mind, I'm an independent here. I'm trying to be as fair as I possibly can, but how many right wing media outlets do you actually know of?
Does Fox count?
Fox counts unless you ask Trump. I don't think Trump is very fond of Fox right now.
Oh, well, I think he's just not fond of any news network.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm gonna go down to and remove the mainstream side of things. I'm gonna go down a little bit further. So you've got Fox,
Okay.
you've got the Blaze, which is Glenn Beck's network. I guess it's become a network. I don't know off the top of my head. And then you've got what is Ben Shapiro's?
You're asking me?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm asking you. Well, anyways, Ben Shapiro's network. What is it? I think it's like it doesn't matter. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Right. So those are your three big conservative outlets. What else do conservatives have? I'll wait. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing else that I know.
I can't think of anything else.
And so you have to take all that into account when you look at all of the media. Now there's some independents out there, like I think the Washington Times actually does a decent job of remaining nonpartisan, whereas the Washington Post is extremely left, or the New York Times is extremely left. There's not a whole lot of right-leaning media outlets, and so it makes sense that people are so hard removed and pushing further to the right during our time, because they understand that they don't have their own platform.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, we went way off the rails again, but we explained the wealth tax, and now you can understand the consequences of a wealth tax, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's go back to the Washington Post article where Barack Obama is a conservative, apparently. All right. God. So given the political climate, it's no surprise to see that the party's base is clamoring for something dramatic. They're talking about the left here. But the contrast between Obama's steady approach and the seeming radicalism of the Democratic heirs can't just be chalked up to changing times. It's because the former president is going back at least to his 2004 Senate race, hasn't really occupied the left side of the ideological spectrum. He wasn't a Republican, obviously. He never professed a desire to starve the federal government. Starve the federal government? That's cute.
I don't understand.
And he opposed the Iraq War, which the GOP overwhelmingly supported. But to the dismay of many of the left and to the continuing disbelief of many on the right, Obama never dramatically departed from the approach of presidents who came before him. That I'll actually agree with. They called him the deporter in chief, right? So he was really tough on immigration, and he wasn't shy about bombing people in Syria. So I mean, there are some obvious conservative leanings.
But I'm not gonna be like, yo, dude, you're okay with me.
No, because you gotta take back into consideration the other side of it, where he was trying to socialize medical care.
Yeah, I was gonna say Obamacare.
Yeah, Obamacare.
And a bunch of the other stuff that he did that just, I didn't.
Really, really screwed things up for a lot of people. That Obamacare thing was a disaster.
Violation of some amendments there.
Okay, so the article continues. Actually, let me pick up right here. So, but to the dismay of many on the left, this is something I just read, but to the dismay of many on the left and the continuing disbelief of many on the right, Obama never dramatically departed from the approach of the presidents who came before him. There's a simple reason. Barack Obama is a conservative. What?
I'm done. I'm out. I can't handle this right now. I'm out.
Obama's perspective. I know. This is crazy, right?
So, are you sure you're not reading like a comic, or you're actually reading an official news?
Hand on the Bible. This is the Washington Post.
You better get that Bible out, because I ain't believing you right now.
I'll send you the article if you want. All right. Obama's perspectives don't line up with every position now seen as right of center. He joined the Paris Climate Accord. He signed the Dodd-Frank financial regulations, and he's pro-choice. He's flip-flopped to supporting same-sex marriage, highlighting the significance of marriage, but his constant search for consensus, for ways to bring Blue America and Red America together, sometimes led him to policies that used Republicans' means to achieve more liberal ends. The underlying concept for his signature legislation, the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare,
oh boy,
with its individual mandate, was devised by the right-wing Heritage Foundation and first implemented at the state level by Mitt Romney, who, by the way, I can't stand. That's a different story. Mitt Romney is not a Republican. Fight me.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't have like a counter or anything to that. You got me. All right, cool.
Yeah, Republican in name only. I don't buy it. So then the Republican governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, then the Republican governor of Massachusetts. Obama wanted to protect Americans from the effects of a prolonged recession, so he agreed in one of his defining votes as a senator to a bailout of banks. And as president, he prioritized recovery over punishing bankers for their role in the financial crisis. In his first inaugural address, he affirmed the power of the free market to, quote, to generate wealth and expand freedom. Okay, I got to stop here for a second. I'm not going to read this whole article because you get the point, right? They're calling Barack Obama a freaking conservative, which is just asinine to say the least.
Yeah.
But here's something that I take specific issue with. The statement right here, as president, he prioritized the recovery over punishing bankers for their role in the financial crisis. Okay, there's a problem here.
Okay.
The bankers that they're referring to for their role in the financial crisis. Okay. The bankers didn't do anything that caused the financial. Yes, they gave out the loans. Okay. The financial crisis in 2008 took place because of subprime lending, right? So,
okay.
Yes, they gave out the loans. They were legally required to because it became law back in, I think it was Bill Clinton that signed it into law, the Subprime Lending Act that allowed for people who had terrible credit to get houses. And then here's a shock for you. People with bad credit don't pay their bills. And all of a sudden, all these houses come onto the market and the market collapses. It was a no-brainer. You don't get to blame the banks for that. So that's a side note.
Okay.
All that being said, this is we live in a really, really strange time where the of all people, the Washington Post, they're going to come out and call Barack Obama a conservative, even though they laid out in this article all these different reasons why he's not.
Yeah. So this right here, I may have mentioned this before, kind of brings up the question, kind of like I read this, and of course I'm going to be like, yo, my first thought's going to be like, yo, man, no. First off, let me just check you there. No. But then another part in the back of your head kind of be like, okay, well, am I missing something here? What's the difference between a liberal and a conservative? Conservatives, individual rights. Liberal is a socialist, essentially. A good correct me if I'm wrong, please, Jeremy. I'm not up to date with big political terms. I'm not this awesome political science guy. I mean, please.
So a modern liberal, or a what was the term you used? Not a liberal, but a modern liberal is much more apt to leaning towards socialism. Yes, this is true. Classic liberals are probably far more conservative even than some current conservatives that we deal with today. I mean, they were classic liberals were all for gun rights. They were all about the family unit. They just had a different perspective when it came to things like workers' rights and union laws and labor relations and things like that. That was their big push, was taking care of the little man because the rich man is greedy and blah, blah, blah. But classic liberalism also doesn't actually ignore economic viabilities or economic theories or anything along those lines. Classic liberalism actually embraces freedom, whereas modern liberalism is like, well, why do we even have the government if they're not doing anything for us?
Yeah, and for this argument, we can't bring. I mean, as much as I would like, to bring in the old school part, because that sounds like, in some ways that may actually help someone. Kind of like the whole thing with Franklin D. Roosevelt. Still one of my favorite presidents. If he was president and I was in the 1940s, I may be like, you know what? I like him, and I may go vote a Democrat. But right now, the term liberal here in this day and age, like you said, more towards socialism. Conservative in this day and age is a more individual rights kind of person, is the old, I don't want to say old school, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, a lot of my values of stuff that I, value in life, is, I respect my country, yeah, America, I mean, just like every other country on the planet, has probably done some questionable things. I don't up to it. Yeah, we did, but I'm not going to go hate my country. They did it. I love my country.
Yeah.
I believe in the individual rights of people. I believe in capitalism. You work for your stuff, you get it. If if you work hard, you get what you want. I believe in the individual rights and all this stuff. But then we have these two liberals and conservatives kind of divided. For them to call him a conservative, let's get back to the main. For them to call him a conservative, I thought it was kind of weird. I don't want to be like, that's dumb. I mean,
well, you can say it's dumb because his track record proves otherwise.
Yeah, it's something automatically this day and age, and it's gotten to the point of labeling. If someone comes up and goes, that AR-50, boom, he's a liberal. Nope. Liberal. You know what I'm saying? I kind of hate that it kind of works like that. But, I mean, in a way, someone that typically tends to come out of the Second Amendment is a liberal. That's just one good example. He was putting these laws into effect, correct me if I'm wrong again, on AR-15s.
Are we talking about Barack Obama?
Yeah, Barack Obama.
I know he was pushing hard for gun legislation, but his biggest opponent was the NRA.
Yeah, and then he was pushing hard for the Affordable Health Care Act.
Yeah,
Obamacare. That
was his legacy.
Yeah, some legacy.
Yeah.
Those are, in my opinion, obviously the Obamacare is a trait of socialism. I think it was Lenin that said you control medicine or something like that, Medicare or something like that. You control the people. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. I also people that come out against the Second Amendment, I also kind of throw that in the socialist category, because you also have to remember that a lot of socialist states that were created when the first act was they got rid of gun rights.
Yep.
Stalin, Hitler, and another. This is some crazy stuff. Back in the day, you remember when I think it was Obama who signed it in? I'm pretty sure it was. He signed a gun law, but he did it with kids.
Yep.
I think it was after the Sandy Hook shooting or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he did that. Well, Hitler did the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's a playbook directly out of
it's a playbook. He was.
It was like, I mean, he might as well have been right. He probably pulled it out of Mein Kampf for all I know.
Yeah, it was. I saw that, and I remember watching on the news, and I went, "Well played. He's good. He has the kids there. Yeah. That's smart. He has the kids there." I wasn't thinking. I thought the law was stupid, but I thought it was smart for his play to put the kids there because everyone's gonna. But yeah, again, stuff like that. He
was a man with an agenda.
All socialism. And I remember I heard a rumor one time too. It kind of in a way it kind of did, to my opinion, was like one time he canceled Fleet Week or something like that. Didn't he cancel Fleet Week one time or something with the Navy? I don't know. Again, don't quote me on that. But then they're like, well, budget cuts. Oh, okay, budget cuts. No, I guess we need to make. But then he has Beyonce in the White House. Right the day after it, and he's there dancing with his wife to Beyonce, singing her Beyonce songs. I don't know. I could be missing some facts on that one, but I was just kind of like, that's kind of, it's just kind of weird. Just kind of seems like it's all pointing towards socialism, where and then it kind of points to, in my opinion, one of the fundamental flaws of socialism is that someone's always going to want more.
Yeah.
And if they can get it, they'll get it. The greed in humanity is the greed in humanity. It's the same. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. We all want more for less.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a lot of the things he did, in my opinion, was just like socialist. And again, it could be one of those things where I was like, I wanted to see someone do socialism, so every little bit is considered socialism, but I don't know. And that, in my opinion, you said it, more susceptible to socialism and liberal,
See, here's the thing.
Okay,
let's go back to this article, and we can wrap it up here. But this article specifically is drawing attention to the fact that Obama was not a liberal in the sense of modern liberalism.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the Washington Post, I believe, is what they're saying is Barack Obama doesn't exactly fit our description of what modern liberalism is, and therefore should not be looked up to with any kind of regard.
Yeah.
The fact is, I've given credit to Obama for some of his accomplishments.
Okay.
Some. And matter of fact, I say this all the time. I'm an independent. I've always been an independent. I voted for Democrats in the past. He was the one that I voted for in 2008 because it was like him or John.
It's all your fault.
No, I don't care. I'll own it. Okay. So he was a new, fresh face, and he was running against John McCain. And my thought was like, well, I know what I'm going to get with John McCain, so screw that. And I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Now, 2012 came around, and I was like, okay, made a mistake. He is nowhere near as moderate as I thought he was going to be, and he's clearly got an agenda.
Yeah.
So when I saw the agenda, and it's like, okay, I made a mistake. And then, of course, he was running against Mitt Romney. And so I'm like, well, I guess I might as well write Big Bird in for this election because who cares? Again, it's strange, but it seems like during these election cycles, there's always a choice, right? Where they're giving you a choice where it's this one crappy candidate or this other extremely crappy candidate.
Well, yeah, that's again, like I always say, it's politicians,
Yeah, it almost seems like they're working behind closed doors to try and further each other's careers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because, the DNC thought Hillary was a slam dunk. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I'm just picturing a bunch of guys in like their suits on there, like, oh, we got this one in the back.
Yep.
Like,
and she's running against Donald Trump. How can she lose? Well, easy, because Donald Trump doesn't sugarcoat things, and nobody trusts Hillary. The reason Donald Trump won was because the DNC ran Hillary.
She just looks terrifying.
Now he's developed a track record of getting things done. I read somewhere not too long ago, I think just a couple of days ago, 4% GDP was actually possible. And Trump was touting that in his original campaign, that we're going to see 4% GDP. And then it comes back. Obama says, you can't do that. What are you going to do? Create jobs out of thin air? You're going to use a magic wand? How's he going to create that? And then he did it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course it's going to be a landslide in 2020. That doesn't mean don't turn out and vote. But here's the thing. Again, back to the original point. The Washington Post is using Barack Obama as a martyr to say, look, this is what a conservative looks like now. And if this is fresh out of the playbook. There's nothing new. This is nothing out of the big switch was another one that they did, right? When Democrats and Republicans switched. That didn't happen. Do some freaking homework on it. There's no evidence whatsoever on it. If you actually do the homework, it didn't happen.
No, they just switched up. They're the same. They just switched up the wording. Their wordplay. It's just they're the same, in my opinion.
Are you talking about Democrats and Republicans?
No. Like you're talking about when Democrats and Republicans switched.
The big switch.
Yeah. No, Democrat's always been a Democrat. He's just switched up his wording.
Yeah, it never happened. It's all smoke and mirrors. But anybody who, if reading, but here's the thing: is reading comprehension is apparently it escapes people because reading is hard and words are hard. I know
dyslexia is a big issue.
But you have to educate yourself on all this stuff, and so you have to see through the smoke and mirrors and understand the Washington Post is just doing the same thing. They're just painting Barack Obama with a different brush to make it look like he actually wasn't all that great or whatever it is. The Democrats are abandoning their own, and like they always say, they always consume their own. And it's just Barack Obama's turn to take his place on the. Yeah.
And so you bring up an excellent point with this labeling. It's gotten to the point where labeling. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of like quick to be like, okay, a liberal, he wants to touch the guns, but also it's just like, I guess now we have to watch out for conservatives because they just put Obama in that category.
Yep.
But then you had mentioned that Obama wasn't a liberal. He was more of just a regular Democrat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I would say he was moderate.
Moderate?
Well, he gave the impression of a moderate Democrat in the beginning in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or 2008.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you right now. Just the way I live my life right now, my opinion, my thought process is, oh, you're a Democrat? I'm going to put you right over here in the liberal category. Mm-hmm. That's just the way I see it right now. It just makes things a lot more easier. Now, and you know me, I don't let the political thing get in my way. If you're a cool person, I'm going to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a cool dude, I'm going to talk. But if you say you're a Democrat, I'm going to throw you in the liberal category. That's where you're going to go. Okay? It just makes things a lot more easier. And if you say you're like, oh, I'm pro-gun, I'm pro, well, prove it, man, because you just can't talk about it. All right? Politicians talk, and maybe, I guess maybe now I should just be on the lookout for how news medias label things now, because obviously they're they're labeling Obama as a conservative, and I never once felt like he was a conservative. I always felt just kind of questioned by him.
Yeah, that's literally the title of the article. Barack Obama, conservative. The left and the right still misunderstand his politics. I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
I don't see them misunderstanding their politics. What?
It's simple. It's simple wordplay. Okay, so there's a lot of guys that will come on and to a platform, and then they'll start throwing fancy words out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, the reason that people do that is because they're actually not very confident in their ability to sway people to their way of thinking. So they use a lot of big words, and they become these fanatical wordsmiths, so that you're kind of wowed and amazed by the words that they're saying. But the fact is, they're not actually saying anything of substance. They're just using big words to make you think, oh, this person must be smart. Maybe they know what they're talking about.
If you want to really smart, y'all.
Yeah, there you can look all over YouTube and find these people who use words as as it's a smokescreen is all it is. In fact, I'll give you a name of a guy that you can look up later on YouTube, and or offline. I'll tell you a name you can look up on YouTube, and you can see all of the wordsmithing that this guy does, and it'll become very evident that really all he's doing is grandstanding because he has no idea what he's actually saying.
Okay.
So that all that being said, anyways, take a look at the Washington Post article. It's posted in the description down below. You're welcome, Mike. Barack Obama is not a conservative. He is a moderate Democrat. I don't care what the Washington Post says. This is fake news. Fake news is prevalent. Stop buying into all this garbage. Bill, do you have anything to say before we go?
Back to me just labeling it. I still think he's a liberal because I just put them all in the same category.
There you go. Put all your fruit in the same basket. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget one more very important thing, and I know Bill's going to do some of this today. Do some freaking push-ups.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drink coffee.
Figured that much.
Pizza.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
God bless.